Welcome back to National Report. Dr. Anthony Fauci now defending a move by the FDA over booster shots. Watch this.
They came up with a recommendation, which I think is a good recommendation. You're going to get a pretty good chunk of the population. So I don't think they made a mistake.
Now, Dr. Fauci's comments come in response to an FDA panel's decision to limit the rollout of Pfizer's vaccine booster shots. Now it's going to be for people over the age 65, also high-risk patients. Joining us to discuss, Dr. EvanLevine, cardiologist and author of the book, What Your Doctor Won't or Can't Tell You. Doctor, thank you for coming on today. Now, we're learning, according to the FDA's recommendation here, that not everyone is recommended to get a third dose, despite what the Biden administration had initially said. What are your thoughts on the FDA's decision?
I applaud the FDA because this is a very compelling and very positive statement by the panelists on the FDA that they will not be persuaded by big pharma. They will not be persuaded by big politics. For me, this says that our system works and that experts get to make that decision.
And again, it's for people age 65 plus and also high-risk individuals as well. Do you think people will be lining up for that third dose? Is there a way that they could maybe check even their antibody levels to make sure that they might need it?
Well, we spoke about this antibody situation the last time I was on. I think we fall short there, that folks that have antibodies, one can question why they actually need to get at least 2 doses. Maybe they only need to get 1 dose. That's a big question. I think our administration has fallen short there. I do agree with the booster for those select folks at higher risk. I think some people, just like the vaccine, will line up. Some people, just like the vaccine, will find a way to get the vaccine, even if they're not over the age of 65, and others will refuse to get vaccinated. This is what we see, and this is what's going on in our country right now. I don't think there'll be any change.
Well, let's talk to you about something that might be changing. And again, that's the decision of whether or not you can vaccinate some young kids. We know Pfizer says its COVID vaccine is safe for young children, and it also generated a strong immune response in kids age 5 to 11. Pfizer now saying it would share the results with regulators in the U.S. and other countries and seek emergency use authorization in the U.S. as soon as possible. We know emergency use is for kids 12 and plus. Do kids ages 5 to 11 need the vaccine?
That's a great question. That's a very difficult question to answer. Of course, the kids have a much lower risk for COVID, but they're spreaders. And that's why I go back to that statement by the FDA earlier, that they made a decision based on science, and they weren't pushed. They weren't pushed by the big politicians. They weren't pushed by big pharma. For me, I have trust in that FDA panel. I await their decision. I frankly don't know the answer to that, and that's why I trust this FDA panel. And the statement that they made earlier is a very important statement. They're independent and they go by the science.
And again, that would not be following mandates of politicians here. When it comes to mandates, doctor, how does that impact people who might be vaccine hesitant? They might be thinking about it, almost about to get the vaccine, and then they're told, you got to get it.
Well, again, we go back to this on the fence thing, but let's not forget 2 things. Number one, this week we will surpass the number of deaths in this country compared to the Spanish flu. And number 2, let's look at a CDC statement from last week. Only 2% of all the hospitalizations for COVID were in vaccinated patients. 98% of everyone in that hospital right now is unvaccinated. For me, that's a very powerful statement. I don't agree with being on the fence. It's been a year and a half already since we've had COVID. It's time to get off the fence.
There we go. And look at the numbers, too. As you point out, that data is really reassuring to get vaccinated. You'll have a much better chance of staying out of the hospital there. Dr. EvanLevine, joining us live on the program. Doctor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Still ahead.